But we do have a couple of handouts. The first time, are we going? The first time that I saw Elise speak was at a doula tea in Portland, and that was before we were having a doula tea here. I heard about the doula tea, and I thought that I had already wanted to have a setting where parents could come and just learn about just anything, because there's so many topics around childbirth and parenting. And so I got a flyer about the doula tea in Portland, so I went. When I heard Elise speak, listening to what she was saying, part of me was mortified because there was all of these expectant moms around, and she was talking about how she felt and how a lot of moms feel after childbirth. And I was just kind of mortified because there's this solitude that you might be feeling. And I couldn't believe it. I'm like, it's supposed to be a happy time, a great time, a wonderful time. And we're talking about the possibility of, having these emotions that you're just not used to dealing with and having this whole new life and this world. And by the time she was done speaking, I just thought, I really wish somebody had told me this before I had a baby. We had great pregnancies, we had great childbirths, and we had a great time afterwards, but I definitely went through some emotions that I was very unfamiliar with. And a lot of times, and I do teach birthing classes, so when I talk to parents, especially new parents, it's like when you have the baby, you're planning for it, and it's awesome, and it's this great thing, and you have the baby shower, and you're telling everybody about it, and
big build up.
Yeah, this huge build up, and then you have the baby, and everybody comes, and everybody sees you, and then after about a week, not as many people are coming, and by 2 weeks, everybody's going back to work and getting their own lives back to the way they were, and here you are with this new baby. And it's amazing, and it's wonderful, and it's just a very different experience. And since having the doula teas, I've learned so much more about what's actually going on in mom and why this is happening. So yeah, it's just it's just amazing. So,
yeah. You want me to read that?
However you want to do it. We've got a couple of different things.
So this is from Kappa, correct? Our Kappa. So you had said that there's a little interest in becoming a postpartum doula. So we took our training through Kappa. I forget exactly what it stands for right now. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Can you
So I'm going to read a little bit from the handout that we got from our training. And basically, as a postpartum doula, one of the biggest things is to be able to recognize when a mom is struggling with a postpartum mood disorder, and to be able to differentiate baby blues and when there's a real serious need for more than what just the doula can provide. So I'll touch on some points here. Let me just take a quick peek here. Okay, so during pregnancy and following the birth of a baby, a wide range of emotions is possible. Obviously, we know that. Often there are expected feelings of excitement and joy, along with feelings of anxiety and worry. Mothers may also feel overwhelmed, uncertain, and frustrated. Caring for an infant is hard work. Being pregnant can be difficult. Regardless of how prepared the mother was or how much she looked forward to her pregnancy and her baby's birth, this time may include some unexpected highs and lows. Time, patience, and support from family and friends are all helpful during this period of adjustment. Sometimes, in spite of help and support, women may feel bewildered and concerned about themselves. These more confusing emotions are classified in the following ways. So this is breaking down the baby blues. So the baby blues used to be considered a postpartum mood disorder. However, today is referred to as a normal part of postpartum adjustment because it is an extremely common reaction. We usually see symptoms appearing suddenly on the third or fourth day. Statistics show approximately 50 to 75% of all new mothers experience this feeling of letdown after the emotionally charged experience of birth. So some of the symptoms may include crying for no apparent reason, mild changes in mood, impatience, irritability, restlessness, mild anxiety, and difficulty sleeping. Symptoms of the blues are briefly unpleasant and usually disappear on their own, sometimes as quickly as they came. With adequate rest and nutrition, symptoms should subside within 2 to 3 weeks. I think that part right there is really important for me, the rest and the nutrition. And I just want to talk a little bit about our society in general, I think, and how as women we're sort of expected to sort of get right back up on the horse, get back to work, get back to cooking for your family, whatever it is, you're just expected to go, go, go. And there's really not that time for you to sit down and process this amazing experience that you just went through. And maybe it was traumatic, maybe it wasn't, whatever it is, you still need time to process what you emotionally just went through, what your body just went through. And now you have this being with you. So there's just so much going on, and I just feel in our society we don't really have the time to do that, or it's not really set up in our lives to be able to do that. A lot of people have, make that space for themselves, which is great, and I think that's what we need to do as women, but I don't find that support from our society when I look around. I don't know if you have anything that you want to speak to about that.
I am so glad you actually went into that, because I have a couple of things. Like we mentioned earlier, a lot of the focus is on the pregnancy and the childbirth, which again is hugely important, and we just don't focus as much on the postpartum. And so I have Elise normally hands this out. It's a postpartum plan. So I'm going to hand these out to you ladies. And when I remember being at the hospital when I was pregnant with our first child, and I know there was like an attempt made, because I remember a nurse saying, so who's going to do your laundry for you? And who's going to cook for you? And I just looked at her like she had two heads, because of course I'm going to do my laundry, and who else is going to come in and do that? So I think a lot of it is self-imposed as well. And if you don't, thank you so much. And if you don't reach out, not a lot of people are going to be aware, unless they have had children or have been through that experience. They're not going to be aware that you need that help. And a lot of moms will try to make it look like they don't need that help because they don't want to look like they're not able to cope. Another thing about the lack of sleep and the lack of nutrition, it is huge. Your body is making the shift back to what it was prior to having the child. I'm so glad it said the third and fourth day. My sister and I were just talking about that. Like the third day after having a baby, that's when your milk is really coming in, your hormones are fluctuating, like everything is going on. And even though they might mention that at the hospital, which I'm sure they do, or your midwife might mention it, they're mentioning 5 gazillion things.
Right.
You're not going to remember all of it.
Preoccupied.
Yeah, and there was a great, Dr. Corey Marinero did a great talk on your adrenal glands and how that really affects postpartum, because you're not getting enough the proper nutrition, you're not getting the sleep that you need, and that affects your hormones as well. So I'm so glad that you got into that part of things. So the postpartum plan is just that. Like if you did a birth plan, which I'm a proponent of birth plans, oh, I sure do. So if you do a birth plan, it's so you can plan, this is what I want, this is what I would prefer not to have, that sort of thing. So your postpartum is very similar to that, but just for afterwards, having that list of people or that support. And I'm so glad that you ladies are here tonight, because this is part of that village that everybody's looking for, finding other people who are in the same sort of situation. The doula training, the labor doula training that I took was in Portland, and they have a Facebook group, and they said one of the most hit posts was one that was put at 2 o'clock in the morning. Like this mom was up at 2 o'clock in the morning feeding her little one, and you feel like you're the only person in the world who's up at 2 o'clock in the morning, because nobody in your house is up. It's just you and the little one. And so they posted something like, am I the only one up right now? And so many moms just responded.
That gives me chills a little bit.
I totally
I just got goosebumps.
I'm like,
I totally understand that feeling.
yeah, and they don't, it's, you're not always aware of that when you're going through the experience. So yeah. And we have a couple of things that we're going to read to you, or at least one or two but this is just, if you look at the heading, support for rest in the early days, having a group of friends who are also parents of young babies. Nutritious meals and adequate hydration are very important. The need for knowledgeable, empowering breastfeeding support. And on that note, and I will try not to go into many tangents, but I remember specifically Elise talking about, what if you're not breastfeeding? That's okay. Every mom is going to make a different choice. But if you're already not getting enough sleep, you're not getting proper nutrition, you're doing your best to breastfeed, it's not working out for you, then you have this shameful guilt where you're hiding your head going into the store to get formula that you never wanted to, but you're putting all of the stress on yourself. And we need to be supportive of those moms. We need to be there for them. And I get very emotional, so I stop talking.
Yeah,
but
well, that's something that I'm on a lot of doula Facebook groups, and I'm sure that you guys might be as well, that I have a hard time seeing a lot of mom bashing for their choices of whether to breastfeed or formula feed. And I just feel like, coming together here in this space, it feels really supportive here, and I think that that's such a component that we need as women to be able to support each other and not do, I think, what we were sort of taught to do, which is tear each other down, and just be competitive with one another. And I think that, the way that you feed your child has become such a hot topic that it's just, it sort of breaks my heart when I see that. And if you're experiencing some of the things that you're talking about, if you're feeling depressed or, overwhelmed or whatever, you really need a hand or a friend to just, hey, you got this. You're doing it, mama.
Yeah.
You got a baby and the baby is happy and healthy. That's what is the most important thing. I just wanted to say that right there.
So, and like you said, everybody's going to make their own decisions, and it's going to be right for them. And to just support them, whether or not, as long as it's a choice that's healthy for the baby, of course.
Yes.
But to be supportive of them. Everybody's going to do it differently. And then there's another support for older siblings. If there are other children, if there's, a partner, if there's a cousin or a grandmother living at the house, it, like a new baby, affects the whole house. And again, it's beautiful and it's awesome and it's wonderful, and everybody's everybody's schedule is going to change. So just having that support. And then maintaining our us time and our sense of self. So many moms will just not allow themselves to just take the time to go and read a book, to go and get a cup of coffee.
To take a shower.
To take a shower. They just, they have this feeling of guilt, no, I need to be 24/7, 24/7. And again, I got into this because of our first, of having children. With our first child, had the baby, everybody came over, and I'm up, and I'm dancing around, and I'm trying to, can I get you this, can I get you that? And I was exhausted. And when we had our second child, I would literally hear people come in, and I would hear my husband, I'd be on the couch, I would hear him say, oh, well, she's napping with the baby. And I would just lay there and smile and say, yeah, I am napping with the baby. And I will call you when I wake up. Because you are the only one who can give yourself that time. Thankfully, my husband was there to answer the door. But you need to make time for yourself. So, and that's it. Thank you for joining.
Okay, so distinguish the difference between postpartum depression. So, about 50% of all new mothers experience significant depression following childbirth. Postpartum complications can occur within days of the delivery or appear gradually, sometimes up to a year or later. Symptoms may include sluggishness, fatigue, exhaustion, sadness, depression, hopelessness, appetite and sleep disturbances, poor concentration, confusion, memory loss, over-concern for the baby, uncontrollable crying, irritability, lack of interest in the baby, guilt. Back page, sorry. Inadequacy, worthlessness, fear of harming the baby, fear of harming self, exaggerated highs and or lows, and lack of interest in sex. A woman suffering from postpartum depression will usually experience several of the above symptoms, ranging from mild to severe. She may experience good days and alternating bad days. Although postpartum depression does not take the same form for every woman, all of the symptoms can be equally distressing and often leave the woman feeling ashamed, guilty, and isolated. Some women may not feel depressed but may feel very anxious. Postpartum anxiety and or panic disorder is characterized by intense anxiety and or fear, feeling that something bad is going to happen, disturbances in sleep and appetite, racing thoughts, constant worry, chest pain, inability to sit still, physical symptoms like dizziness, hot flashes, rapid breathing, fast heart rate, and nausea. Do you want to say anything about that at all? Do you want me to continue?
Just, if you as a mom are feeling concerned, and generally if a mom is feeling concerned, they don't want to tell anybody that they're feeling concerned, because they don't want to feel like they're doing anything wrong. I encourage you to reach out, whether it's to your friend or Elise, for example. She came and spoke at one of our teas, and there was an expectant mom there, and after she birthed, she went to see Elise because she really needed the support. So just reach out. There's support in the area. I'm getting some more names. If you go to the Mainly Birthing website, there's a list of local connections, and I'm trying to get some more names added to that. One thing, she was a very dear friend of mine who was my postpartum doula, though we didn't even know what that was at the time. She was always the encouraging person for me, like you mentioned earlier, always telling me, you know, you're doing a great job, and she just always had my back. And she also always told me, even if you think that what you're thinking, nobody in the universe has ever had this thought, somebody has had that thought before. Like, even when you feel like you're the only one, you're like, we're here for you. There's support for you. So if you are feeling concerned, or if you're feeling concerned for someone else, talk to them or talk to a professional, like contact Elise, see what she would recommend, that sort of thing.
So just a little bit discussing the difference between postpartum panic disorder and postpartum obsessive compulsive disorder. Okay, so in addition to generalized anxiety, there are some specific forms of anxiety that you should know about. One is postpartum panic disorder. This is a form of anxiety with which the sufferer feels very nervous and has recurring panic attacks. During a panic attack, she may experience shortness of breath, chest pain, claustrophobia, dizziness, heart palpitations, and numbness and tingling in the extremities. Panic attacks seem to go in waves, but it is important to know that they will pass and they will not hurt you. Postpartum distress may also include obsessive compulsive features. Postpartum obsessive compulsive disorder can occur for the first time in women following childbirth. If a woman has a history of OCD, her symptoms may intensify. Studies show that about 3 to 5% of all new moms suffer from this condition. Symptoms include intrusive, repetitive thoughts, including thoughts of harming the baby. Compulsions where the mom may do certain things over and over and over again to reduce her fears and obsessions. This may include things like needing to clean constantly, checking things many times, counting or reordering things. Avoidance behavior, i.e. avoiding the baby to alleviate intrusive thoughts. Fear of being left alone with the baby. Overprotecting the baby, anxiety, depression. These thoughts are often scary and are perceived as being out of character for the woman experiencing them. Even the new moms experiencing these symptoms realize that they are bizarre and will most likely would not act upon them. And then the final one, postpartum psychosis. Postpartum psychosis is the most severe and fortunately the rarest postpartum reaction. It occurs in about 1 in 1,000 women, usually within the first 4 weeks after birth. Symptoms are much exaggerated. The woman will experience a break with reality. Symptoms may include severe insomnia, hallucinations and delusions, agitation, bizarre feeling and behavior, hyperactivity, paranoia and suspicious behavior, rapid mood swings, difficulty communicating. So this is a serious emergency and requires immediate medical help. The most significant risk factors for postpartum psychosis are a personal or family history of bipolar disorder or previous psychotic episode. Approximately 5% of the women suffering from postpartum psychosis will commit suicide and 4% will commit infanticide. That's heavy
So,
stuff.
yeah, so it's a hard topic, for sure, and it is so important. When I was introduced to the concept of postpartum doulas, it was watching The Business of Being Born, the second one, so they have The Business of Being Born, they have The Business of Being Born Part 2, and that was when Ina Mae Gaskin is she's a midwife in Tennessee, and she is all about natural birth, and they have this farm, and it's amazing. And then she was the one who made me realize, and oh wait, you have a baby, and you have stuff to do. And to just be aware, and to check up on new moms, and bring them a dinner, like even if it's a $10 pizza. That is one of, personally, if somebody brought me dinner, which they did, that was one of the best things in the universe. Like if I didn't have to worry about planning or cooking or anything like that, bring a new mom, anything like that. As I said earlier, when I first heard Elise talk, I could not believe she was talking about this during a moment, like, oh my gosh. And then I could not believe that nobody had really talked to me about it prior to. So it is a deep topic, and that's why I think a lot of us don't talk about it, and you don't hear about it. Again, we're focused on the birth and the baby, and it's awesome, which it is. But then you have a baby, and for some moms, their whole life is different. They go from being a full-time employee or a full-time work-for-themselves person to a full-time stay-at-home mom, which is wonderful. There's a little one down here to the camera, so I keep looking down. And it's amazing, but they don't talk. They can't have a conversation with you. So it can give you this feeling of solitude. So finding the support group. One thing that I wish someone had told me, as far as breastfeeding again goes, they had the breastfeeding support group. You do not have to breastfeed to go to a support group. You do not have to be having a hard time breastfeeding to go to a support group. You go to the support group because there's other parents there with other babies, and that, any opportunity you get to surround yourself with other people who are experiencing the same things. Facebook is kind of the double-edged sword of today, but they have some really great mothering groups out there where you can connect with other moms, and they do have some closed groups as well, so it's more private, which is great. Go to your local library. This is our local library. We love it. Welcome to your
Here
local
we are.
library. I moved out of state briefly, and I would call my friends back home, and I would be quite upset. And one of my friends told me, Laura, go to the library. There will be children at the library. There will be parents of children at the library, because a lot of it is adult conversation that you need. So I did want, Danielle has at the back of her handout that I gave her, it's a letter, not this one, it's a letter to a new mom.
Oh, yeah.
And I have a similar letter, but I really like, though I couldn't find that one there. And it's also in tense, but I think it's really good for us to hear it. So I had asked Danielle if she could read it, because if I do, I'm probably going to cry. She's going to have to read it anyways. If you start to cry, I'll read it,
Okay, I haven't read this, so
Okay.
bear with me. Alright, an open letter to new Mama Me. If I could go back 14 years to the beginning of this mama gig, there are a few things I'd tell new Mama Me. Things she should hear. Things she should know. Things I'd deliver straight to her heart. Like that violent Pulp Fiction through the chest resuscitation shot to help her breathe just a little in the time when new mamahood first destroyed her, but before she really lived again. Oh, new mama, I would say this beginning, it's hard. It is. It's hard. Your feet are moving on a marathon that's just begun, but you haven't trained because there's no way to train for this. No way to build your muscles or increase your endurance or improve your time other than to start running. And that is okay. It's the way this thing is done. You won't always feel this exhausted, this off balance, this delirious. But I know that this doesn't matter right now and that you want to punch people who say it gets better. Right in the teeth. But it does get better, Mama. It does. And the secret is you get stronger. I would tell you, sweet new Mama, That feeling depressed after becoming a mama isn't just a biological phenomenon reserved for mamas who grow their babies themselves. I would tell you that I know you adore your baby. I know you're wildly grateful for her. And I know you'd give your life for her, and that some days you're so strung out you wish you could. All kinds of postpartum what the hell is normal, even for you, the adoptive I was so desperate to be a mama. Welcome to the land of both and, lady. Both crushed with love for this new little life and breathless with the loss of yourself. Parenting is relentless no matter how you arrive there. Oh, new mama. You will feel beaten, sometimes every minute, but I promise you, you will not stay down. You are a woman and you are just the beginning to learn how very strong you are. Parenting is relentless. Have I mentioned that? Relentless. But eventually I will give you a better version of yourself, and then eventually, you will consider it a worthy trait. You gasp with pain some days. So lonely, so unsure, and that's okay because you are dying, mama. You are dying to yourself, laying down that you once knew. But you will rise again, and you will go far. All the way to the moon. You will. To infinity and beyond, like Buzz Lightyear. Except real. Your life won't be only diapers, late nights, early mornings, toddler fits, and mommy tantrums. I pinky swear and cross my heart. You will seek, and you will find inside yourself the spark of a woman who knows from a hard experience to the marrow of your bones that you are resilient and capable and strong. I know you wonder how it is that mommying can be so isolating when billions of women do it every day. I know you didn't see the loneliness coming. If I had a genie in a bottle, I would wish for a zoom out button for you in the middle of the night when you're sitting on a hard floor with your crying baby and your crying self, and you're desperate because you just want to stop it, but you don't know how. And you could zoom out and see. You could zoom out over your house and then out again, like Google Earth for mamas. And from that high place in the sky overhead, you'd see that you're one of an ocean of mamas rocking on the floor in that night. You know that you're not alone, not really. And you'd wave at the other mamas, and they'd wave back through their tears at you. You've heard about the village, the one that says it takes a village to raise a child, and I know you're wondering how to find it. Damn village. The zoom button would sure help, wouldn't it? But I would tell you, hang in there. Breathe, breathe, breath after breath, and keep trekking. Because the village is there, mama. There's hope. You'll get there. This elusive village is there, and you are so right to keep moving till you find your mama tribe. And the mamas that you find, some of them in the wilderness are just like you. Oh, this is a little cut off. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There's a purpose for all of your wandering. No, you don't know it yet, but you're cutting a trail that others will follow to the love and the beer. I don't know where beer came from, because it was cut out, sorry. And the laughter too. Can you believe it? Oh, new mama.
Red wine, I mean.
If I could tell you just 3 things, I'd tell you these. 1, you're okay. You are. Both the dark and light of you. The despair and the hope. 2, the hope will win, I swear it. 3, you're not alone. Love is there, and so are you. And together, love and you're enough.
I think that should be in a picture frame on every mom's
Yeah.
Yeah.
so that they can read it every time they're up at 2 in the morning, and
Yes.
every time they're up at 5 in the morning,
Yeah.
and every time they rush through the door with a screaming child and a tantrum toddler, and that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for reading that. You did an amazing job.
Thank you.
Like, really amazing job.
I feel, yeah, exactly what you're talking about. Like, you know, just to go back a little bit, and to just say, you know, looking at the postpartum psychosis and the heavy stuff here, I feel like I only hear about these really sad stories on the news about postpartum where someone's already unfortunately done something really bad. And, you know, it breaks my heart to see that because those mamas didn't get this, you know what I mean? They didn't get that support, or they didn't go to the library and be, or they didn't have someone just come and give them the food to be able to sustain, you know, and I feel like again, back to this society thing, like, we don't have enough of this conversation in a supportive public forum. It's always like, look what this mom did, and then there's a lot of, like, shunning and,
Right.
like, guilt
Shunning, and
about
they don't
it.
get support after they do this.
Yeah,
either.
and that is just, that double, you know, what do you call that? Self-fulfilling prophecy there. Like, we're
Yeah.
not gonna make it any further if we keep
Right.
doing that.
Right.
Anyway.
So that so that's basically what we have for you guys. We can definitely keep talking about experiences and stuff. But I think what Danielle said is really hugely important. Like, we need more meetings like this. I know at the Fairfield Library they have, the one that we're in, they have, they call it bouncing babies, not like shaking babies. 'Cause that's not a thing. But they have it's a mommy group Friday mornings, and they're really trying to get more moms there because not a lot of moms have been going to it. And if they could find their way there, then they could find just more moms. And you're not going to, I think the part that cut off, you're going to meet so many different moms on so many different paths with so many different ideas and views and values. And, you know, whether you agree with everything that they do or not, you're still going to be able to befriend them to some point. And if you can't, then there's another mom right, you know, around the way. So yeah, just be supportive, be understanding, and, you know, just be there for each other and encourage other people to be there for each other. So, so that's what we got. I think
Well, just looking at this right here, I don't know if you want to talk at all about
yeah, definitely.
maybe more.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I think one of the things that is really important as a postpartum doula is to be able to recognize how to fit the partner in that role, dad,
That's a
partner,
great
whatever
point.
you want to call them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of parents might go, oh, well, you know, my husband is here, you know, he can take care of things. And that is absolutely true, but I think that there's still some times where dad might not know how to help, and a postpartum doula might be a great person to just come in and have sort of an unbiased look at it and have sort of that zoom out like she's talking about. You know, for me, like, one of the things that I like to do as a postpartum doula is sort of go in and examine. I think, again, nutrition is so important. So to have a meal plan, come in, I'm going to cook this, freeze it, boom, you've got this in the fridge that you can just take out and pop in the oven. You don't have to worry about it at all. Like, and go and do the shopping for them and come back and, you know, take care of that piece so you don't even have to worry about getting the nutrition. And, you know, in here it has sort of a list of all of the things that a new mama is really going to need to bring her body back to that, you know, balance, that homeostasis. But, you know, some of the things that, you know, dads can do, and no, they can't breastfeed, but there are a lot of ways that they can help. You know, even just going and bringing the baby to the mom so she doesn't have to get up to go and do that. You know, there are benefits to getting up, but sometimes you need to just lie down. And again, like you said, your husband was the bouncer in a way. You know, it was like, yeah, they're good. You know, we'll talk to you later about it though. Let's see what else. Yeah, changing the baby's diaper. That's always a great one, you know, and
a great way that, and you learn so much along the way. Like, we could literally keep you here all night long to give you tips and tricks on how to survive, like, the new parenting. One great thing, especially if you are a breastfeeding mom, a great way for dad to bond is bath time. You know, because daddy can totally do bath time. And one thing that we learned with our second child was that with bath time, often you have that little tub that you have at your baby shower, and you put the baby in it, and the baby's flopping around, and you're trying to keep the baby up, and you're trying to keep the water warm, and you're trying to keep it, and it's an interesting situation. Talk to your doctors, but it was my midwives who told me this. If it's dad or mom taking a bath, have them just solo get in the tub, nice warm water. When it gets to a nice room temperature for baby, you can hold baby in the tub and bond with baby. And then you have the baby right here. You can have the washcloth, and it's not this whole, like, flopping around in the tub thing. And it can be this amazing bonding experience. And if dad is able to do that, or partner, whoever is in the situation. It's just a great way to bond and to help. And like you said, even getting baby, like if baby wakes up, partner can go and get baby and bring baby over if mom's breastfeeding. If mom is either formula feeding or bottle feeding with breast milk, then of course, partner can be involved as well, which is great. So.
Something else I just thought of, if mom has a cesarean, she is most likely not gonna, jump up and get the baby, so dad would be able to bring, or partner would be able to bring the baby, and that's super helpful. But to also be able to help prop up the baby, and help with positioning of breastfeeding if that's something that you're working on. I think that that's super important as well. But I like how you mentioned the bathing, because like that skin-to-skin component is so important to share the hormones and the pheromones and stuff. That's really great.
Yeah. There's just so many, and that's why I'm glad you brought it back to the postpartum doula. When I first explained postpartum doulas to people, I don't know what I had in my head. I often question myself. I think a lot of us do. But when I explained it to people, I wasn't sure what I would get for a response. And the response generally was, big eyes, oh my gosh, I wish I had that when I had my child. So just to have a professional person come in and, like you said, unbiased. Like as a doula, you don't go in there with your little judging. You go in there open, you leave your own personality, like your own personal stuff at the door, and you go in unbiased and just helpful. Like you said, the meal planning. Meal planning is hugely helpful. I remember with our first little one, we had visitors come over, and as soon as for those of you who have little ones, you know this, for those of you who will be having little ones, when you breastfeed, as soon as little one attaches, you are instantly needing water. You're just like so thirsty.
And it doesn't happen until then, so you don't think about it. You don't bring a water bottle with you.
Exactly.
You're latched and you're like...
Exactly. And so I sat down and I went like that. And then I don't know if a look came over my face, but my friend said, "Can I get you some water?" And I'm like, "Yes, please." And like you said, you don't think of it, but like the things that might seem small are so hugely helpful. So.
It cracks me up because it's like we were talking about earlier, how you're thinking nobody else in the world thinks this, nobody else in the world feels this, but now here we are talking about this, and you say that, and I'm like, Dad, all the time.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. Sometimes if I could just sit down, like after we have the baby, if you could sit down, I will change the baby, I will nurse the baby, I will put the baby to sleep. Can you bring me the diaper, the wipes, new breast pads, new shirt now, like water,
Yeah.
Like, you do everything with the baby, I just need to bring you things.
Right.
Anything.
When you're reading the part about the postpartum depression, one thing that stuck out to me was it said, I think it said in that part that it won't necessarily come, if you get it, it won't necessarily come right after the baby. It could creep on months later or something like that. Is that what it said?
Okay, so let's see. So postpartum depression or the postpartum psychosis?
The depression.
Depression. All right, let me go back here.
So I know that at the 3-day mark,
Yeah.
that's when your milk is really coming in, and like I said, your hormones are going back to whatever form of normal that is. So you are having all of that, and that's where a lot of times the baby blues, I think it said, is within that time frame after the 3 days. And I think you found it, I think it was like a 4-week period.
So this says sometimes up to a year later. So it does sound, like it can extend. And my first reaction to that again is proper nutrition and sleep and support. And I don't know how many are a component for this, but it sounds like if you went to Holly's placenta encapsulation, placenta encapsulation is one of the best ways that I know how to nourish your body with its own medicine, and you can store it for an extended period of time. I know that women have stored it in the freezer for the time when they go into menopause even. So, and I mean, it's amazing. Our bodies make that medicine. It's just mind-blowing to me.
And like the emphasis on the sleep and the nutrition, I'm going to say it again, so we're all, like we're just going to keep saying sleep and nutrition, sleep and nutrition. Cause a lot of times you'll be told, you know, when you have the new baby, sleep when the baby sleeps.
Yeah.
And I can't give you a ratio of the new moms who don't do that, but a lot of times you're like, well, I can't pause, the baby's asleep, now I can do the dishes, now I can do the laundry, now I can do all of that stuff, and then baby wakes up, and then so like I said, it took me with our second little girl, it was just like, no, when she's sleeping, I am sleeping. But as a first-time mom, I was just running myself ragged, because in my head, I thought this is what, you know, what you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be this rock star. You're a woman. You're supposed to just be able to do this. And
So much expectation.
it really is.
And especially when you have to go back to work
Yeah.
in such a short period of time, and maybe you're pumping, or your spouse goes back to
Yeah.
work.
Why does your spouse need to stay home? Their employment's like, you're not having a baby, you're coming right back.
Right.
They don't understand that the mom needs support to adjust to after having a baby, and who's better than their partner
Mhm.
who is living with them.
Right.
Plus a partner to help with the other child.
Right. Oh, yeah.
On sleeping and all,
Yeah.
second child takes up the
Yeah.
half of the day.
My worst part after having her was when my husband had gone back to work. He went back to work, I think 24 hours after I had her. And
Oh
then
my
he went back to
gosh.
work.
Oh,
I'm
boy.
still having contractions. I almost have to breathe through.
Oh my
They were so
gosh.
strong. Of course, I felt like all my insides were gonna fall out. I'm sitting in my rocking chair in my living room nursing her. My son is in my bathroom yelling, "Mom, I pooped."
Oh no.
I'm sitting in my rocking chair crying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Going, what do? I can't hardly walk without holding myself in.
Yeah.
She's eating. My son just pooped, and
Yeah.
it was just this crazy moment. And then I called my husband, and of course, him not understanding says, "Are you sure you can handle 2 children?"
Oh,
And I'm
oh
like,
no.
"What are you
Oh,
talking
boy.
about? Of course I can.
Things
I
not
just
to
had
say.
her."
Things not to say. Yeah, don't say that.
Don't say that.
I mean, the emotions that hit you. And after I had my first son, one of my husband's family friends, I was like, I don't know how to keep my house clean. I try to clean, but my house is always a mess. And I just had this baby, and I'm exhausted. And she's like, "You just gotta figure it out, Mama." And I'm just like,
See, that's what I'm talking about, though. Where's the support?
Don't
Right.
understand.
You know?
it's crazy. And I feel like, not judging my husband, obviously, I love him to death,
Oh,
but like,
obviously.
husband, people who don't have kids, or people that had support that they didn't realize that they had,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't realize that you don't have.
Yeah.
It's crazy how not understanding they are, and like you said earlier, how us women, if we feel that we need help, or if we feel that we're struggling, or if we feel that we're tired, we're not going to tell people, because we're women. We're supposed to be strong. We're not
Right.
supposed to tell people. We're supposed to just figure it out.
Yeah.
To be the ones to tell your husband that I can't walk right now because I feel like everything's gonna fall out every time I walk, and then you feel like you have all this stuff that you want to get done, and you can't lay down and rest because your mind's just going a million miles a minute because there's 20 loads of laundry you have to do, and the dishes, and and you tell your husband this, and he's like, "You just had a baby, you're fine." You know, like that's the mentality though, that because they don't understand, they don't get it.
Yeah.
A lot of other people, not even just husbands or boyfriends or anything like that, they don't understand it. So it's hard for the mother, I think, to be the one to explain that. So I think that's a really important thing too, maybe for postpartum doulas, to be the one to explain to people around her that you see constantly
yes.
around the mom.
Absolutely.
This is what she's most likely feeling right now. This
Yeah.
is what she most likely needs.
Mhm.
She may not tell you this.
Exactly.
So maybe
Right.
Be aware of that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I know in Europe, they send a postpartum doula home with you from the hospital. That's like mandatory. That's
That
part
is
of what they do
awesome.
there.
Right.
You know?
Hey.
Right? I mean, it just seems totally different perspective, right? Yeah.
it's so cool.
Yeah.
My friend was having trouble lactating, basically. She wasn't bringing in enough milk for the baby, so she ended up going to formula at that point. I guess she's lactating now, but she wasn't. I made her lactation cookies. I basically took a banana bread recipe that I had
Yeah.
and added the ingredients that we needed
Yeah.
to make it work for her. And that was brewer's yeast and flax, that's it, you know, but I just added it and made it so it didn't taste too much like the brewer's yeast, because that's very strong, and I had to adjust. I made it the way it needed to be made. I didn't taste it, but she said it was very good, and I'm like, okay, good. Then I've got a recipe written down for lactation banana bread.
Oh, that's
That's
awesome.
So
That's really
I don't know what I'm gonna do, what else I wanna do, but I'd like to see if I can make other recipes that are
Absolutely.
lactation.
I heard about lactation smoothies.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
She doesn't like those. She said the brewer's yeast is too strong, so she
I
couldn't
think that's
handle
why they
that.
mentioned the beer in there, just to say. It's
And
not-
brewer's yeast is used in beer.
Not
Yeah,
just, you know, you
Yeah.
need to, woo!
it's used in
A
beer.
little
and
too hard tonight, yeah.
Yeah.
Dark
so-
beer and red wine.
That's
Yeah.
good.
But
So,
there's
yeah.
teas that you can get
Yes.
too. I know my midwives have
Yeah.
put together
I think milky oat top is a big
Yeah.
component to
Yeah,
They say
sugars.
oatmeal helps lactation, right?
Yes.
I know,
I
I
put oatmeal in
luckily
it,
went
too.
on an oatmeal kick
Thanks.
after having her, and all I
That
ever
was
wanted
part
to
of
eat was oatmeal, I'm like, that's
Nice.
perfect.
yeah,
Good.
that's awesome.
And there are also milk banks. I don't know if you guys have heard of that, but for a lot of moms who are struggling to produce, there are women who have excess and will sometimes offer it up, and you know, to each his own, whatever your choice may be. But I know that there are there some in our area? Do you know?
I know if you
I know
reach
there's
out,
smoothies online, right?
yeah, if you, I
Yes.
know that there have been, and I know I keep mentioning midwives, so I know that home birth midwives have some connections of people.
Yes, definitely.
So,
There's some in Augusta,
yeah,
Gardner
yeah,
area too.
so,
Good.
yeah, so I mean, it's just sharing the information and getting
Yeah.
the word out.
Unfortunately, that's not an option for her, cause she just can't afford to even do that right now.
Yeah.
They're living paycheck to paycheck and
Yeah.
barely making it.
Which is why it's
So,
hard to formula. feed if
Which
it
makes
works
it
in
very
you.
hard, but she
Right.
had to do formula at one point because he wasn't eating.
Yeah,
And now she started the formula, and then apparently her milk came in, and it's okay now.
Yeah.
She hasn't had to use lactation things at all.
Mm.
So apparently it's gotten itself adjusted or body adjusted.
That's awesome. Good.
Well, for people who are on Facebook, there's a community, the Somerset Breastfeeding and Parenting Support, and you can
nice.
join the group. I have the card if, you know, if anyone wants to write it.
I'd love to take a picture of it
yeah.
on my phone.
Yeah, but, it's really good.
And there's one in the Bangor area too, so I'm not sure where everybody is located. There's a breastfeeding and support in the Bangor area. So should, does anybody have any other questions or comments or experiences or anything that they want to share?
Laura, do you want to write this down?
Thank you.
Can you explain to me more or less, like, for instance, if I was pregnant and said, hey, can you be a postpartum doula? And then I have my baby. What would be, how often do you come, what time do you come, how long do you stay, stuff like that?
Yeah. So, you know, I think it's really a case by case basis. Generally, I like to meet with the family once or twice before I'm gonna be their postpartum doula. Just to go over what the expectations would be. How often do you want me there? For how long? Generally, I think, you know, I'm still a new postpartum doula, but what I've sort of come to see in the postpartum doula world, it really makes sense to have them available for 3 to 4 hours at a time. So you can do the meal prep, you can, you know, start a load of laundry when you get there, maybe go out and do grocery shopping, get the breast pump or prescription, whatever it is that's necessary. You know, make sure that laundry gets switched over, folded, you're cooking, you know, prepping all the stuff and freezing it. And, you know, it's gonna be different for every family. You know, if you've got younger or older siblings, whatever, then you know, you're gonna approach them in a different way. And I don't know, do you have any specific things that you think about for that?
So I agree that with every family it's going to be different. Every family situation is just going to be so different with like the parents, the children, whoever is there. And it's a lot of it is helping the mom, but also helping the mom to help herself to like tips and tricks, how to make things a little easier. Like I again love what you said about the freezing of the food, just having stuff ready, like make it in bulk, freeze different things, you know, it just makes it so much easier throughout the day. But like helping mom to help herself.
Right.
So, and every mom is gonna need you at a different time of day or a different amount of days a week
Right.
and for a different amount of time. So one mom might need you for a week or two, like a postpartum doula for a week or two, just to really get acclimated. Another mom might need 4 or 8 weeks, and that's totally fine. You know, every mom is gonna be different on what
So
they
you don't
need.
typically have it, like I know, like my midwife, for instance,
Mhm.
after 6 weeks, 6 weeks was her last appointment,
Mhm.
and that was it, like,
Yeah,
I would have had her come once a week for a long period of time,
Right.
just
Right.
because that was the person that delivered my child and
Right.
I
Yeah.
took on with her. Is there any specific, like, when you meet with somebody, so this is typically what I do, I don't usually come after this day, or I don't usually come after this time, or I
Mhm.
don't, like, is there something specific, usually like a guideline type of thing?
Again, I think that it's up to the doula. I think that I
Mhm.
stopped, let me think, the first family that I work with, I stopped, I think I stayed with them, let's see, actually to 2 months. So I was there for a little bit longer, I think, than
Mhm.
generally. But that's just what I felt worked for me at the time, and it was a good relationship that I had with them, and they seemed to really be benefiting from it. They also had a little guy who had some pretty serious health stuff that I was able to help out with, and that's something else that I wanted to mention. You know, there are postpartum doulas who are trained in that sort of work and have some sort of nursing experience and can actually stay overnight to work with kids
Right.
if they have health concerns and, you know, mom can't sleep because maybe her baby has a breathing problem or something, you know, so it's the ability to give them time to sleep, which is so important. But again, I think it really depends on what the mom needs, what the doula's availability is. You know, maybe she has 3 postpartum clients in a week and she has this chunk available for this day and this chunk available for this day. And I think, you know, each person is different and you've got to just be able to collaborate and work together on it.
Cool, that's awesome.
Does that seem like that answers?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Definitely, I mean, that's, I think, kind of the future,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
I'm curious.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah. And Kappa was good. I enjoyed going through them.
Yes.
I don't know if there are any upcoming trainings anytime soon, but
So I'm honestly, I'm not sure.
yeah.
But I have the websites again
Yeah.
under mainly birthing. So if you're interested in becoming a doula or either birth or postpartum, you can click on, there's I think a doula training link, and it'll have the companies that you can contact or different locations that offer them, or it'll have upcoming trainings and that sort of thing. So.
Have you had people that, were a birth doula and postpartum doula for the same family?
Like I was their both birth doula and then no, actually that would be great. I would love it if that could work out like that. But I did most of my birth doula stuff when I lived back in Massachusetts.
Yep.
But moving up here and just finding kind of what you said earlier, it seems to fit better for me for my lifestyle right now to be able to schedule things out.
Yeah.
So
Instead of
the
having something that's.
yeah, and I mean, being a birth doula is amazing. It really, it's like kind of indescribable. But I also have another job, and it's really important for me to be able to schedule that time out like that. So, yeah, definitely not knocking the birth doula world. It's an amazing ride. I love it. I'd love to be able to return to it more someday.
And it's good to have, someone with the passion for it.
Yeah.
So, like some doulas, they just love
Yeah.
they love the labor and birth, and that's what they want to be part of. They want to be at the labor and the birth, and it's amazing, and they're so passionate about it. And then you will have the postpartum doulas who that's where their heart is. They want to help the mom after the baby's there, whether they have had, an experience personally or have seen other experiences. So it's good to find someone who's that's their ultimate passion on what they're doing. So, yeah.
And you know, just the word doula and the concept is becoming so much more well known these days, which is great. And you know, I first learned about it through a class in college, and I had no idea that there was even any options around birth whatsoever. So I mean, I think that so many people can relate to that, and when you sort of hear that, it's just like, wait, what? Like you can birth outside of the hospital? Like what are you talking about, you know? And again, just goes back, I think, to our society and what we are, educated with, so.
So when somebody has a doula, like if they have a home birth and they have a doula, do they also have a midwife too?
A birth doula is what you're talking about, if they have,
Yeah.
I mean, I personally do not attend unassisted births.
Right.
Right.
That's not,
Okay.
I
So-
mean,
So I'm thinking of like legalities.
Right.
yeah,
like,
no way would I be there.
In the United States, most of the doulas in the US are in the hospital setting.
Okay.
Because if you're in a hospital setting, you really, even if you're like, oh, this is my doctor, they might not be the one who's on call. So a doula is for a labor and birth doula, it's a support person for the mom, for the family unit, who is there for the mom from the beginning of the laboring process till a couple of hours after the baby's born. So you have that solid continual person. And if you're having a home birth, with a home birth midwife, they give you that continued, like when you go for a home birth appointment, you're gonna be there for like 3 hours, and you're gonna have this friendship and this bond. And on the chance that home birth midwife has another birth going on, you've already met and made a really good connection with Rebecca, midwife. So instead of being like, well, I met all of the doctors who might or might not be there for like 5 minutes at a time, you have a really strong relationship with them already. So.
Do you want me asking?
Oh, well, not for this one. But I'm having the baby in a birthing center. In
Awesome.
the
That sounds
hospital.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like,
It's a,
it's a good balance
Yeah,
for
yeah,
me.
definitely.
You know what I mean? Because like, it is more, like the philosophy is more home birthy, but it's still with the hospital amenities there. So it just, it's a good balance for the
You gotta
first.
find what works for you.
Where are you birthing?
Huh?
Where are you birthing?
Reddington Fairview.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yep.
because it's where my mom has
That's
worked
awesome.
forever. So.
Nice.
that's kind of cool. I had my first child, where my dad worked at the time, and like I said, I never saw this there for like 5 days, and my dad would come home with me every day.
Oh, that's sweet.
Just had to bring that up.
That's awesome. I had, since we're sharing, with our first birth, there was no way in the world I was having home birth, because it was so foreign to me, like,
Right.
no. So our first birth was a hospital birth, and it was great. We had an awesome experience. When we had our second child, we were ready for home birth, and we had an awesome experience. So like Danielle said, it's what you're comfortable with, like you need to birth where you're comfortable, because if you're not comfortable, you're gonna be stressed, and that
Yeah.
just creates a
Whole,
different ballgame of birthing,
Yeah.
so.
Do you think there's, do you think you get more clientele in southern Maine being a doula, or is there a good market for it up here? I'm not sure. Just out of curiosity.
Again, labor and birth or postpartum?
Oh, when I think of doula, for some reason I always think of birth.
And when I said that, as soon
Yeah.
as I said that, I'm like, it probably doesn't really make a difference. I think, and this is strictly opinional, I think that it is more popular in southern Maine,
Yeah.
cause a lot of times, though people are finally hearing about doulas and what we do and what it's all about, we're still just becoming known, really.
Right.
So, I know that there are a couple of doulas who stay busy, which is
Around
great around here.
Yeah.
But yeah.
there's so many more people too, I mean, you've gotta think of
Yeah.
it,
True.
you know, any city like that, you
Right.
have a larger population to serve, so,
Right.
you know, what I experienced when I was down in Western Mass, you know, this is sort of what I went and framed my degree around, was maternal and reproductive health care. It was a flooded market. I couldn't get my name out there really because there's so many doulas, and it was like, you know, I couldn't get my footing, and it can be challenging as a new doula to try to get your footing with that, as a birth doula particularly. And you know, if you are going to go the certification route, you have to meet a certain standard of how many births you attend, and that can be really nerve-wracking to, you know, approach a family and, you know, or have someone approach you and be like, well, this is my first time, you know, and it's like, you wanna reach out to other doulas and get that support, and sometimes it's not always welcome from doulas, is what I experienced down there when I was new. It can just be really challenging to get on the board for that, you know.
Yeah, to get started.
Yeah.
And, cause that's not something that insurance covers, right?
Although 2017 insurance covers home births.
Really? For a midwife?
In Maine.
That's interesting. Wow.
Is that from the
That's
law that just
cool.
passed recently?
I think so.
That's
I
great.
remember at the very end of my, I don't know, right after I had her, the midwife informed me that starting 2017 insurance will, because they get licensed in a certain way, the
Mhm.
midwives get licensed in a certain way so that it's accepted or something.
Unless
I'm
they
not exactly
changed
sure
with
how it
the
works.
new
Yeah,
legislator.
there's a lot of stuff that's been locked. So,
But I have heard stories of midwives telling their clients to just call your insurance company every single day.
yeah.
No
Yeah.
joke.
Yeah.
Every day, and some women have had their home births covered.
Yeah,
Wow.
So
like coding is important.
yeah.
You know.
I think I heard that it's actually less expensive though to have a home birth.
Oh, it is definitely less
Yeah,
expensive.
I saw that the business of being born
Mm.
documentary.
Yeah. Yes, I can't give you numbers
Right,
like
right.
at all,
Yeah.
but especially depending on how your birthing goes. Insurance will cover up to a certain amount, and then as soon as you have the baby, then there are different fees and things that go on, because now you're not pregnant anymore, so you don't fall under this, and because you have, and there's just a lot of rigmarole. So with the home birth, you have a set amount that is generally out of pocket, like that is gonna be changing a little bit with the new law. But yeah, because even if you have insurance, there's generally a certain amount that will cover and will not pay, so.
Oh, I know.
Trying to get her to roll over.
Pretty darn close.
I'm getting there.
almost there. So close. I'm not sticking her into her own room, because she will not sleep on her back. She'll sleep on her belly.
Yeah.
She will not sleep on her back. So, I don't feel safe sticking her completely in her own room until she rolls
Yeah.
easily back and forth.
Yeah.
She will roll.
I saw that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Just wondering how old she was then.
She'll be 6 months on the 29th
That's awesome.
already.
That is so great.
Makes me sad.
She's a happy baby.
Yes.
Right.
I don't know, how I totally feel about this yet, but I saw a video today. MIT engineers designed this crib that, so say if she was lying in the crib, it just slowly moves like the butt and the head, and it can like determine the way to not shake the baby, but like move the crib depending on the cry, which I found really interesting. And it actually has like a whooshing sound, like when you're in the womb. I was like, whoa, that is technology used really cool,
Yeah, that's pretty
I
wild.
could see some people being like against it, but
Yeah.
I also think that that's pretty fun.
Yeah.
See, look at this. She's tiny, but look at this trunk.
That's good.
She's got pork chops.
Yeah.
She's got pork chops.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I love the trunk. I love the trunk.
Yes.
I love the trunk.
This comes Thank you all for showing up tonight
Yeah.
and being a part of this. I hope that, though Elise isn't here, and we miss you very much, Elise, we hope everything is okay.
Thank you.
And we hope that you were able to all get some good, solid information.
Thank you.
You.
Don't forget to give her the card.
Yes. Yep. Thank you very much.